Have you ever been given something that you had no clue of its value or worthlessness? Today, I want to talk about how I almost, almost missed something transformational. You see, over my almost 40 years as a naturopath and working with tens of thousands of clients from around the world, I get inundated with things to look at, things to read, products to try, and most of them just go by the wayside because there's nothing unique or it doesn't tie in with things that I've learned over all those decades. I still remember when I was first introduced to plant-based enzymes about 25 years ago, and it was like, wow, if we don't digest our food, we don't get to get the energy out of the food. That was transformational and made a huge difference and still does. And then I remember about 10 years ago, walking into my first neurology class with all of these Olympic athletes, bodybuilders, all this science, and me in my 60s back then. But then I heard and understood neurology, and I went, this is my language. I get it. I get it. I get it. It's like if you don't work with your brain and your nervous system, that runs everything in the body. And if it's too hard, the brain will discount it. That made sense because parallel to neurology, God was teaching me that his ways are easy. Now I had the neurology and the science to bring it all together. That was so revolutionary in our practice, working with clients, adding movement. Well, then let's fast forward to last year. Somebody sent us a bunch of stuff. It was this stuff called SuperPatch. And I looked at it, and I looked at this little thing you're supposed to put on your skin like a Band-Aid. And I just looked at Forrest and said, that's about the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I have no interest. So these just all sat on the shelf for almost a year. Then something happened, and it changed my perspective beyond 180 degrees. I was introduced to a surgeon, a woman, Dr. Anna, and she talked about all the things that I know about how our brain impacts how neurotransmitters and biofilm in the gut are produced, and that impacts the brain. And that if you can work with the brain, you can get all kinds of results. She talked about how she was at the forefront of laparoscopy and robotic surgery and things that prior to that were like strange. But she moved into it, and she's one of the leading experts, highly credible. She started going through the science and the brain activation of these super patch little Band-Aids. And as she was talking, I went, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I could hardly hold on in my seat because she was talking about the things that I know. She said, if your brainstem and your brain and nervous system are out of balance, out of homeostasis, things can't work. I knew that was true. And she said, what these little patches do, each little patch has, you may not be able to see it on the camera, but there's little curves and ridges that are like a thumbprint. And when that thumbprint hits the skin, it's called vibrotactile technology. Vibro is frequency coming from the information like a QR code into the skin. The skin is a rapid receiving place, and that goes instantly into the nervous system and instantly into the brain. And here's what it does. Listen, this is so cool. It brings that particular function in the brain to homeostasis. It brings it into balance so that the brain can do what it normally would do if it wasn't in fight or flight. Do you realize the significance of that? When I listened to her, I thought, she's very smart. She's very credible. She's brilliant. And she has seen this work. And I knew all those things were true. I just didn't have something like this that could do it instantly in certain functions. Now, no matter how brilliant somebody is, and no matter how well they explain it, which she did an incredible job, I like to test. I want to see if it's going to get results in me, our family, with clients. And oh my goodness, It was just amazing. Well, it was so special. I had no ingredients to deal with. I had no contraindications. There were no chemicals. There was nothing to work with except frequency. And yet I knew and I know how important frequency is to the brain. And if you can get the brain balanced, change happens. Are supplements important? Absolutely. Is movement important? Absolutely. Is food important? Absolutely. But have you ever had an area of your brain, a system not working? Like, what about sleep? I sleep pretty well, 8, 9. For a lot of people, that would be considered phenomenal. But I decided to try the patch that's for sleep. Happens to be called REM, R-E-M. Took my sleep to 10. I've worked with children who can't sleep through the night, and parents are not thrilled with that problem. Put a little patch on the children, they started sleeping through the night. And moms are like, high five, this is a game changer. And what about pain, chronic pain? All chronic pain is run by the brain. So you can do all kinds of pain relievers, but if you don't start working with the brain, you just don't get full recovery. And so freedom, which is freedom from pain, I had a dental issue that needed to get taken care of, but it was going to be about a week before I could get in. The pain in this area, on a scale of 1 to 10, at least a 12. So I decided I'd try the pain patch. I put it right back here on my spine, below that bump right there, T1. Within about 10 minutes, it went from a 10, 12 down to a 4. And then over the next couple of hours, the pain was gone. I didn't even notice it. It was like, that's amazing. And then Forrest. Forrest is like the delight of my life, but Forrest can squirrel, have trouble focusing. He tried the focus patch and focus was just incredible. Now, he did say, Cheryl, you do not need to use the focus patch. We don't need you more focus, because that's not one of my issues, but it sure does help him. And then I started playing with the ones that some people thought, those aren't a big deal. The peace patch. Oh my goodness, you know what the peace patch works on? Bringing homeostasis to your nervous system. That's everything, so that you can be peaceful and calm. And so I've worked with people that REM didn't necessarily help their sleep, but they put the peace patch on and see, when you calm your nervous system, that impacts breathing. It impacts getting out of fight or flight. It's huge for children. That one has just been amazing, and I think it's probably going to be one of my favorites. And then I thought, well, I'll just play with joy. I don't know what that'll do. I'm in the midst of a huge season change as I'm cutting way back on my one-on-one clients, but I want to take this 40 years of experience and get it out and disseminate it to people. And so all I feel like I was doing was my to-do list every single day. That gets really boring. And then, yes, I started the joy patch. And here's what happened for me. It was like the creativity and inspiration to do what I love to do went up to here. And I started to enjoy the process versus feeling like all I was a workhorse. I could share so many stories here. People who had trouble going up and down stairs. They would see me, then they'd come downstairs to check out with Forrest, and they could only do it one step at a time. All ages. We worked with the balance patch called Liberty, and they went, I can go up and down the stairs. I can walk normal. You mean I could actually go out in my garden? The stories are so amazing. Yes, some of them are almost immediate. Some take 2 to 3 weeks. But the best part, if all you hear in everything I'm saying, what you're doing is giving relief to a part of your brain that's not in homeostasis. It's out of balance. And when you do that, it's amazing. How long does each patch last? 24 hours. How long do you use them? For as long as you need the relief. It doesn't solve the problem. It gives you the relief of an area that's out of balance. Now, what might happen? Just imagine what might happen if over the course of a month or 2 months, this area of your brain just keeps staying in balance and you're doing things differently. What might happen? That's so exciting. This is a whole new frontier. And it's one that I am so excited to be a part of because the discoveries going on with clients are unlike anything I've seen before. But the last 40 years prepared me to recognize the importance of working with your brain. It took a surgeon to help me go from where I was, understanding the brain, to realizing that a frequency technology the size of a Band-Aid could bring relief to people they didn't know was possible. So if you're ready to join me on this journey and have all kinds of insights, revelations, and discoveries, come aboard. I can't wait for you to join us.